Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to this afternoon's press conference. This is an important one. This is an important one. Something really bad happened this morning in the Supreme Court. And something really bad happened to a lot of people, friends, neighbors, coworkers, colleagues, people who've been working hard here in Massachusetts, paying taxes, raising kids, contributing to our communities, enriching our state in so many ways. And the people affected are people who were once deemed by our very own federal government to be receiving and worthy of a particular status because they came to this country under horrific circumstances. And today that changed with the swipe of a pen, the issuance of a decision by Donald Trump's Supreme Court, which basically rubber stamped what has been a cruel and callous and totally wrong-headed approach to immigration by the federal administration. I want to thank folks who've joined us here today, Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, Attorney General Campbell, Mayor Wu, District Attorney Ryan, Dr. Gabeau, the Immigrant Family Service Institute, City Councilor Lucy Louisiana, Marty Martinez, United Way of Massachusetts Bay, Governor's Counselor Tamisha Civil. There's several members of our administration and secretaries represented here. We also have members of our team from the Office of Refugees and Immigrants, Christina Aguilera and Susan Church. And we also have a number of representatives from the health and human services industry. This includes Michael Curry, Massachusetts League of Community Health Centers, Tara Gregorio, Massachusetts Senior Care Association, Joanne Simmons, Northeast ARC, Andrew Scott, Senior Life, Dr. Danaher, and Dr. Del Carmen from MGB, among others. There's a reason I mentioned those individuals, because not only is this decision devastating for individuals and families, it's devastating for economies around the United States, including right here in Massachusetts, with a number of individuals who work directly in health and human services, among other industries that are important to our economy and our way of life here in Massachusetts. So I'm going to talk about the fear, the confusion, the uncertainty, the devastation wrought by this Supreme Court decision. And understand, Massachusetts, it's not limited to our TPS neighbors and colleagues and co-workers. This is something that impacts whole economies here in Massachusetts and across this country. This is what's happening right now in America. I also want to thank members of our clergy, Reverend Clayton McCluskey, Reverend Whitworth, who are joining us, as well as Carol Rose of the ACLU. Today we stand in unity against today's Supreme Court decision upholding the Trump administration's cruel and harmful elimination of temporary protected status of our Haitian and Syrian immigrants. I want to say this as clearly as I possibly can. In Massachusetts, we stand with our Haitian and Syrian communities, and we always will. This decision makes no sense. This Trump policy makes no sense for our families, our economy, our communities, our country. It allows President Trump to rip away protections from families and children who fled devastating earthquakes and violence in their own countries. They are in the United States legally. They are in the United States legally. By act of the federal government, these individuals are in the United States legally. that status, the Supreme Court and Donald Trump are attacking legal immigrants who've done everything right to be a part of this country for more than a decade. Massachusetts is home to the third largest Haitian population in the country. We have more than 45,000 Haitian TPS holders who've come here since 2010. In Massachusetts alone, 45,000 TPS holders. This ruling, I also want to importantly note, also impacts Syrians, our Syrian community here in Massachusetts. And it follows other decisions that have hurt and impacted Central Americans, Venezuelans, and others who cannot return safely to their countries and continue to need these protections. Our immigrant neighbors have built safe, productive lives here. They pay taxes, they work here. They're our caregivers, our co-workers, our friends. They're the fabric of our communities. They're also a foundation of our economy. As I said, many are healthcare workers, serving some of our most vulnerable patients, our seniors, people with disabilities. Many more are entrepreneurs, small business owners, who are the engines of economies in communities across the state. People who are putting other people to work and creating jobs. And the idea of returning home isn't even an option for many of these families who've already built their lives here in the United States. The conditions that first led to the creation of TPS have not improved. Understand that. Do you remember former presidents like Bill Clinton, like George Bush? They recognized something about humanity. They recognized what is supposed to be the role of the United States. Remember after the earthquake in 2010? Those were United States presidents who did their job. You know, I think about yesterday's catastrophic earthquake in Venezuela, and our hearts go out to our Venezuelan community. Those right now who are digging out of the rubble, who are praying to find their loved ones and survivors. And my thoughts are with members of our Venezuelan community here in Massachusetts who are so desperately worried about their loved ones at home. And it makes the fact that our current President of the United States thinks it's okay to send members of our communities back to these countries. Makes it all more outrageous and sickening. Our immigrant neighbors deserve so much better than this. And I know our country, Americans, are better than this. While we can't control the federal administration, we can control how Massachusetts shows up. Massachusetts will not turn our back on families who built their lives here in our great state. My administration is working closely to review the full implications of this decision, and will continue to work with Attorney General Campbell, Mayor Wu, community organizations, employers, and state agencies. We're going to protect these families and support these families in any way that we can. So a couple things I want people to know. Together with Attorney General Campbell, we have set up a resource page that families can visit at mass.gov/immigrant resources. It has information on how families can access community support, legal assistance, and other resources. Last year, we funded and set up the Massachusetts Access to Counsel Initiative in partnership with MIRA, the Massachusetts Immigrant and Refugee Advocacy Coalition. If you are a TPS holder in need of assistance and representation, please go to that website. Go to that website. You'll find information about your rights and legal resources to assist you. Donald Trump and his Supreme Court may have ripped away hope and created massive fear, uncertainty, and dislocation. In Massachusetts, we're going to make sure that we defend people's access to justice and to due process in this country. So please consult those legal resources. Talk to a lawyer about other resources that may be available as well. I also have a message for employers. As I said, this impacts so many employers across our state. My office will be issuing guidance later today for employers. We're also partnering with the United Way to raise funds for impacted families to ensure that they can access basic needs for things such as housing, food, healthcare, and childcare. Please visit unitedwaymassbay.org/federal response to make a donation. I'm really glad to have Marty Martinez from the United Way here today with us, and if people are looking for something that they can do to help in this moment, please donate to the United Way. 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, I was right here with many of you. Do you remember? We celebrated the Haitian national team, the Haitian Football Federation, right here. We had our homegrown talent, Francie Gabeau, right? Remember Francie? You know, grew up in Melrose, played at Northeastern, and now has gone on to lead his Haitian national team. And we came together, we were celebrating that team, we were celebrating the World Cup. It was such a joyous moment there, that day, in the State House. When Francie spoke, he talked about the difficult obstacles that the Haitian team had faced on their journey to the World Cup, to overcome and to make the World Cup for the first time in 52 years. Remember what he said? 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago. He said that team, the team that he's on, that we all cheered for and saw compete this past week, things are so dangerous there, they couldn't even train in their home country. They could not even train in their home country. And yet, our President and Supreme Court think it's okay to take away legal protection for legal immigrants living and working in the United States of America. I'm struck that day, and I'm struck now, thinking about the community, the entire community that joined us to celebrate Haitian culture and to share in their pride. And the team played with such joy and with such heart. When we rooted for Haiti, we were rooting for our Haitian neighbors and our friends. This all just shows once again how cruel this Trump administration has been to so many. So I want folks to know, in Massachusetts, we see you. We care about our Haitian and Syrian and Venezuelan and Central American communities, among others. We care about immigrants who had their legal status ripped away by Donald Trump. We stand with you, and we're going to do everything that we can to support you and your families. And we're going to do everything we can to support those who work with and rely on all of those individuals. This is not a good day in the United States of America. But I'm proud of Massachusetts, I'm proud of the Wakefield Valley, I'm proud of the way we come together, and I'm proud that this has been a place where for hundreds of years we've recognized the importance of immigration and what immigrants bring to our communities, to our quality of life, and to who we are, not just as Bay Staters, but as Americans. And now I'd like to turn it over to our Attorney General, Andrea Campbell.
We're acknowledging SEIU is also here, so thank you. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Governor. Thank you to this entire coalition that's behind me. And many of you were unable to attend given the decision and, of course, the results that none of us wanted, so I'm grateful. I also just have to sort of take a moment. Good afternoon, everyone. I am deeply disappointed and devastated by today's Supreme Court decision. This ruling allows the Trump administration to cancel temporary protective status for Haitians and Syrians. This decision impacts people who have built their lives here, not just in Massachusetts, but across this country. under a lawful program, and people who cannot safely return to home due to war, instability, and other circumstances. My office has always and will always value the contributions of our immigrant communities and those who choose to work and live in the greatest country in the nation that is Massachusetts. We see you, we value you, not merely for your cultural contributions, but for your economic contributions to the great Commonwealth, and also for your humanity. Massachusetts would not be the best state in the country without our immigrants, period. Including our Haitian brothers and sisters, our Syrian brothers and sisters, and every other immigrant community who are here. And let's also be clear that our Haitian population in particular is the third largest in the country. This decision has real consequences in Massachusetts, where there are an estimated 45,000 people living with Haitian TPS, and also an estimated 350,000 Haitian TPS holders across the country, and 6,100, and these are just estimates, of Syrian TPS holders across the country. We would actually have more detail with respect to these numbers if we had a federal partner willing to share the data, so we could share with all of you just what's at stake. In Massachusetts, we also know that we have 1,500 Haitian TPS holders working in nursing care facilities, a space where staffing shortages were already our major concern. I want to assure TPS holders and their families that this decision today does not go into effect today. You remain protected today. The termination of TPS is expected to go into effect once the Supreme Court formally issues its judgment, which could happen in a matter of days or weeks, and we will continue to over-communicate with respect to that decision. Usually it's 32 days, but it can be more or less. We are also looking to the Department of Homeland Security for more information about their implementation timeline, which still remains unknown, sadly. This is still, however, a devastating outcome, none that any of us wanted. The case will be brought back to the district court, but the court won't be able to hear claims brought under the Administrative Procedure Act, and the court has said that the plaintiffs are unlikely to prevail on constitutional claims. In any case, the decision will still go back to lower courts, where it's frankly stacked against them to make a decision where we would want a different outcome, based on the decision by our Supreme Court. And it could take the lower court weeks or even months. And what's worse about this TPS decision is that there will be no protections for TPS holders in the meantime. The court, at a minimum, and what would have been minimally reasonable, have allowed folks to remain here with their TPS status while the lower courts worked it out. But they chose not to do that, sadly and unfortunately. Every single person in Massachusetts, every employer in Massachusetts, every healthcare provider, every institution, every single person and institution that is part of the great Massachusetts ecosystem should absolutely be concerned by this decision and the immigration policies of this administration. If you have stood on the sidelines, you've stood on the sidelines for far too long. It is now time for you to step up and to join all of us in exercising leadership, in courage, and protecting the people we say we love dearly, and protecting the immigrant communities that so beautifully contribute to Massachusetts and this country. And we shouldn't just stand up for moral reasons. We should stand up for economic reasons, and we should stand up for the unrealized long-term consequences that this decision will have on Massachusetts, and frankly, this decision will have on our ability to remain the best state in the country to live and work. I also want to add some additional color and context. We've seen this playbook before. After the Civil War, to counter the Reconstruction efforts in this country to make this country indeed more equitable, more fair, to live up to the ideals we say we all care about, The Supreme Court decided a number of cases then that undermined our progress. This is no different. You have a Supreme Court that has disregarded clear racial animus and hatred that contributed to expelling hundreds of thousands of immigrants to dangerous countries back then. They not only sought to undermine Reconstruction efforts, they sought to exclude Japanese folks, Chinese folks, Asian folks. They did everything in their power to ensure that this country would go backwards and would remain a country for a select few, and also to determine that who gets to decide, who gets to live in this great country and take advantage of its rights and its privileges would also be determined by a select few. This is where we are today in this country. It echoes that history, and let's not forget it. So if we truly are going to be the country in the Massachusetts that says we value everyone and their humanity and their contributions and their civil rights in our Constitution in this 250-year anniversary, then get off the sideline, folks. Do something. And what can you do, you ask? I'm glad you asked. It's not just in Massachusetts. Every state in this country, all those stakeholders that I mentioned, our nonprofit community, our business community, our large conglomerate corporations, our clergy community, our church community, our mosque community, every faith tradition in this country, every single organization that you can think of should be calling the Department of Homeland Security and saying TPS must remain. Number two, should be calling Congress and saying TPS must remain, and should be mobilizing and organizing, not just for our Haitian brothers and sisters, not just for our Syrian brothers and sisters, but for every immigrant community that is now under threat because of this horrific Supreme Court decision. We are not powerless. If anything, we should be saying we're just getting started. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Attorney General, for your leadership, for your determination, and most of all, always for your call for us to stand up and act. We all knew this day was coming. It doesn't make it easier. It doesn't take away the depravity, the harm, the fear in our communities. We didn't know exactly when, but when I got the news today, when I saw that headline come out, I did what we've already been doing as a community for years, and certainly for the last several months as we've been preparing for this moment. I did what already felt familiar and immediately got on the phone with folks who are standing here. Called Councilor Lejeune, who had already been in touch with the community, called the governor, who had already been in touch with the AG's office and the state, called Dr. Gabeau, who had already mobilized the entire legal services community and our community activism and organizational partners, and made a plan to get together once again. Over the last couple weeks, we have felt such joy in Boston. We've seen the rest of the world reveling in what our city has to offer, that there is still a refuge and a home in this country despite the rhetoric coming out of DC. There are communities who are relentlessly fighting to welcome every member of our society, every family, every culture, every generation, and the opportunities that we have to build those connections, to celebrate our differences, to highlight the pride and the joy that we feel in our own cultures and our own heritages and our own identities that transcend language, geography, generation. We felt that, and we've been holding on to that. Boston is the antidote to what's happening at the federal level. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts has been standing strong for a very long time against the attacks that have been coming at us from every direction. And so we have been preparing. And in between all of the many, many meetings about logistics and safety and transportation for the World Cup, we had just as many meetings about logistics and safety and protections for our Haitian community members and for our immigrant community members. We've celebrated the joy and cultural pride and contributions of our community in the same breaths as we've been preparing for the worst. And so we stand here today grieving, still feeling that sense of shock, but having done everything that we could possibly do to date to be as ready as possible to face what we are about to face. This is no moment to sugarcoat anything. We have a community of neighbors, of family members, of a workforce that holds up our entire city and country's economy. And today, Donald Trump's enablers on the Supreme Court handed down a decision that disregards established law, basic human dignity, and fundamental American values. Many of our Haitian neighbors have lived in Boston for decades and decades, have built their families and built our community. They coach our kids, care for our elders, keep our streets safe. They serve in our schools, our nonprofits, our public safety agencies. And when Haiti scored its first World Cup goal in 52 years, our city exploded with joy across every neighborhood for the sense of pride that we felt for our people, for our neighbors, for our community. This is nothing new. It is who we are to celebrate our neighbors, to do everything in our power to protect and defend the people we care about. Today, our Haitian and Syrian neighbors, friends, co-workers, and family members are hearing a message from the highest court in this country, who they have weathered tremendous struggle and sacrifice to fight to become a part of, that because they were born in certain places around the world, their futures are somehow less worthy of protection. That is as un-American as it gets. To our Haitian and Syrian residents, to our immigrant community members, to all of Boston who cares right now for the city that we are, you belong here. The city will continue to do all that we can to lift up the community organizing and the activism that is happening, the preparations that Dr. Gabeau and so many, Mira and so many of our organizations have already been leading around knowing your rights, about providing access to services, about ensuring that every possible way we could offer any measure of protection, we are taking the effort to do. We are going to keep fighting for accurate information to be out in our community, for access to trusted legal supports to be available to every single person who needs it, and resources to ensure we're reaching everyone to understand their rights. This decision does not itself cancel your work permit. If you are authorized to work, you stay authorized. Again, looking to the Attorney General and her team for the up-to-date guidance on when the legal parameters may change. And if you need legal assistance, please seek help only from qualified immigration attorneys and federally accredited representatives. I want to reiterate the thanks and note to our employers too, that you have tremendous influence in this moment, and we are counting on every member of our community, residents, organizations, activists, government partners, and our business community to take part in the efforts that are needed to ensure we are doing everything possible for our community. Employment decisions should always be based on the employee's current documents, and we're going to ensure, again, continue connecting people to resources, and there will be resources available for our employers also to access and to understand all of the various details, so as not to take preemptive action. And many of our Haitian and Syrian and immigrant neighbors are authorized to work through other immigration pathways, including pending asylum applications and other ways, so understanding individual situations is incredibly important as well. You'll hear a little bit more about the work that our partners are doing, but again, I just want to lift up how much has already happened. Training for legal observers, provisions for food supports, and connections to neighbors, knowing neighbors across every community. We are going to see that kick into high gear right now, and I want to thank those who are working to ensure we have the resources available to continue funding those efforts. Marty Martinez and the team at United Way have been incredible partners, stepping in emergency after emergency to partner with the city and the state, and I know they will be running the statewide efforts to ensure resources are getting to the right places. Lee Pelton and the Boston Foundation, with a particular focus on the city of Boston. Again, we already have a fund that has been stood up to receive contributions from community members and other organizations who want to directly get resources and supports out to our community members in the city of Boston as well. So we will keep those funds going as we launch that support fund earlier this year. More than $2.6 million was mobilized since March, and that has directly strengthened the infrastructure to be able to prepare us for this moment. And now we need to call for more resources. So if you're interested in pitching in, please head to the Boston Foundation's website to get involved there. You can make a contribution that will get directly to these community organizations and to our residents who need help right now. The city of Boston is a home for everyone. Boston, c'est la caille. We will never back down from protecting all of our neighbors. And I just want to pass the microphone over now to someone who has been an incredible leader, not only for the entire city of Boston in her role as an at-large city councilor and city council president, but a national and global leader in this moment when we have needed leadership. Thank you so much for all that you've been doing, for your vision, your determination, and your guidance, pushing us to act in every way possible. City Councilor Butzi Rijek.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Attorney General. This is a sad day. This is a dangerous opinion. I mourn alongside our Haitian TPS holders, our Syrian TPS holders, and the impact that this will have on people from 15 other countries who have TPS. We have a State Department that has issued a travel for do not travel warning to Haiti, and yet they think it is safe or okay to detain and deport 350,000 Haitians who have been here, many of whom since the devastating earthquake in 2010. Make it make sense, because it does not. We have a Supreme Court that has abdicated its responsibility to do the work of judicial review of an administrative decision, and are just deferring to whatever this administration wants to do. Whether we are talking about temporary protected status, whether we are talking about voting rights, whether we are talking about environmental protections, this Supreme Court has been doing this president's bidding. And it is a bidding that is rooted in xenophobia and racism. Today is a sad day. Today is a dangerous day for people who have, many of our Haitian TPS holders have been in this country so long, they have children who are American citizens. We are tearing families apart with this decision. We are tearing apart our workplaces, our economies. if you have ever had someone, please raise your hand, a loved one who needed a home health aide. That person is very likely to have been Haitian, to have been someone who has TPS. We are tearing apart our place of employment and our families and the fabric of our cities. It is unconscionable. It is not okay. I stand today saying I am sorry to our TPS holders, our immigrant communities, that we have allowed this country to fail you in this moment. And to so many, we are on the heels of Juneteenth. When we talk about the freedom story in this country for African Americans, Haiti, the first Black nation to have its independence, and here we are, closing our doors on the most vulnerable. The governor said it perfectly. Haiti, while playing in the World Cup, could not play any of its qualifying matches in Haiti because of the dangers that present themselves there, because of kidnappings, because of humanitarian crisis. Haiti leads the world in hunger right now. What are we doing? We are issuing a death sentence to so many who have come to call this country home, whose children speak no other language than English. I am angered that we are in this moment of the World Cup when we are seeing the beauty of what it means to bring people together, of people. I was somewhere 2 days ago, they were swapping jerseys, Ghana jersey, England jersey, Haiti jersey, Morocco jersey. And yet today we are closing our doors. I am gutted. What lifts me up is that I know that we have fighters here. We have fighters in the many organizations that are behind us, from labor to advocacy to immigrant rights groups, the National TPS Alliance that is here with us, to so many people who are standing and who have stood in the gap for our TPS holders. I want to make sure that in these coming days, that when we are doing the work of providing webinars and information, I know Mira already has information out there, I know IFSI, Immigrant Family Services Institute, will be providing information, that we make sure we are steering people to qualified people who can give them legal guidance in this moment. Because our people, our communities, when they are at fear and when they are feeling vulnerable, are even more subject to being taken advantage of. And so we need to make sure that we are putting all of our resources to help our communities. I want to thank the Boston Foundation. I want to thank the United Way, who in March answered the clarion call that so many of us put together to make sure that we are putting resources to our immigrant communities that are struggling. Know that Boston is a city that is not going to step aside and just allow our immigrant communities to feel hurt. We are going to stand up with you, even when we are trying to figure out what to do. We will hold your hand as we figure that out. Please know that my office remains a resource. If anyone has questions, we are here to help to employers. We ask that you make sure that you help your employees and ensuring that they are exploring every legal avenue of lawful status to remain employed. Just to be clear, when Congress created temporary protected status, it is a lawful status that this administration is trying to tear apart. And so I also want to thank the work that has been happening at the federal level. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley valiantly secured a bipartisan vote to extend TPS for 3 years. That work was not easy. That was a result of a coalition, many of whom are standing behind us, that made relentless calls to anyone we possibly knew in Congress to get them to sign on to her discharge petition and then get them to pass the bill. We need everyone calling Senate right now, the Senate. Senator Markey and Senator Rochester are leading in the Senate on a bill that would extend CPS. We need that same coalition, and like Attorney General Campbell said, no one on the sidelines. We're talking about real people. This has always been about real people. We need everyone making calls, to anyone you know who has a connection to encourage the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security to extend TPS. The fight is not over. We are only continuing and pushing forward. And so I just want to say to everyone, although today is a sad day, we have a history and a legacy as a daughter of Haitian immigrants of fighting. We are rooted in a history of pushing and pushing above and punching above our weight. So the fight continues. I know that today is a heavy day for so many of us, but we are going to continue. Nous là, nous pas quitter aucun monde. Si nous avons question de calculer, c'est 617, 635, 43, 76. Le problème, le on parle avec l'avocat, faire c'est un avocat qui connaît qui ça l'a fait, qui pas juste prend l'argent. Des gens qui ont aidé, les FC, the Everett Community Center, get the United Way, call the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Advancement. There are people who are here to help you, qui aidé. This is the beginning of a fight. It's a fight that we have to win because we have no other choice. Thank you, everyone. Introducing my combatant, my fellow fighter in this long, long battle, Dr. Gabeau.
Good afternoon, everyone. As everyone said already, this is a painful day for our community. Last night, I was with so many members of our community at a watch party with Haiti and Kou. And after the party, we were also joyful again that the game went so well, and the Haitian team played their heart and their soul. Even though we lost the game, but still, we were so happy. And at the end of the game, as always, wherever I go, people recognize me and say, Dr. Gabeau, we're waiting for that Supreme Court decision. And I said, of course, it's coming soon. And she said, so what to expect? And I, for those of you who know me, enthusiastically said, we're going to count on the voice of reason, we're going to count on the voice of wisdom, and we're going to count on the voice of truth. Because there is absolutely no way, with all of the evidence that has been presented to the members of the Supreme Court, for them to decide against us. And I said, there is no way. And again, people were like, please, go on home with this assurance that at any given time, the decision will come out and it will be something good. In fact, I was so positive that I already prepared my quote for the press today. And my quote said something like this: thank you to all of you members of the Supreme Court for understanding that this country cannot function without our immigrant neighbors. And I said, thank you, because all of you are parents. Thank you for understanding how important it is for keeping families together. And one of the reasons why I said that is because not too long ago, at our music program at IFC, on the Saturday, a young girl, she is 8 years old, went to her teacher in music and asked the teacher a bold question. And what was the question about? She said, teacher, would you take me home with you? And the teacher said, but why do you want me to take you home? You have a family. And she said, my parents were talking to me, and they said, in case I get to be deported, my parents need to find someone to take care of me because I was born here, but my parents are here on TPS. So the 50-year-old looking for a solution for herself in terms of who is going to take care of her should, her parents get deported. So now my question to the Supreme Court, what exactly am I going to say to those 100,000 children who are born here and whose parents are on CPS and can be at any time deported? What should be my answer? And my hope is that you have a child. If you don't have a child, you have a nephew, you have a cousin, and you know how deeply connected parents are to their children. And for you to sit on this highest Supreme Court desk and make such terrible, horrible decisions, to me, this is not acceptable. And I think this is the time for all of us, this entire country, need to stand together and to say, enough is enough, this is not acceptable. This is inhuman. Terrible news coming from the Supreme Court. We have seen a lot of horrible news coming from the White House, but this one is going too far. And my strong message to the Supreme Court is that you must have a conscience. This role that you are playing is not a simple role for you to make decisions, because behind every single decision, every single policy, there is a life. And we're talking about people's lives that you are destroying. You cannot go to sleep. I dare you to go to sleep tonight and sleep well when you know that more than 350,000 people are not going to be able to sleep. I dare you to go to sleep tonight. So again, we are a community of faith. What we do every day, we fight, as our Congressman and our President always said, we fight on our knees, we fight on our feet. So we're going to be praying at the same time with all of you guys. We're going to be fighting. Because this is not the time, as people say, to remain silent. This is the time for all of us to raise our voices and to say, this country is also our country, is also the country of immigrants, because we are the ones who built it. So hard to give you but you cannot turn your back on us. We will not turn our back on our brothers and sisters. We will not turn our back on our neighbors. We are going to fight. And I said, by God's grace, we will win. Thank you so much.
So, before we turn it over back to the governor, I'm Marty Martinez, President and CEO of the United Way of Massachusetts Bay. And I think we heard a call. A call from our leaders, from our elected, our community, our neighbors. A call, and now we need a response. It's really important that we remember that all the fight that we must do to protect our neighbors in this moment, we need to do that by responding, by standing up, by getting off the sidelines, and by doing everything that we can do. And so for some, what some folks can do is some folks can get involved and advocate, make calls, reach out to elected officials, and others will have the opportunity and ability to donate. Donate so that your neighbors who are impacted by what's happening, who will lose wages, who will not be able to pay for rent, who will not be able to pay for basic needs to get met, who will not be able to take care of their children, can access support from organizations who are already being asked to do more with less. And so my words are simple and hard words to follow with these great leaders behind me. But my words are simple. I ask you to, if you have the ability, if you can donate and support your neighbors, please do that. You can go to the United Response Fund, which is at unitedwaymassmade.org/federal response to learn more about the fund, the work it will do to mobilize resources, invest in organizations deeply rooted in community, and create emergency financial assistance for the thousands of residents and our neighbors who will be impacted by what's happened. We're not going away, but while we fight, we must support our neighbors in this moment. So please, if you have the ability to give, if you have the ability to donate, we ask you to step up and do that so we can support this important work. I'll now pass it back to the governor. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And I think it's important to know that we other folks gathering outside the well, people have gathered for generations to advocate and to advance change and justice right out of Massachusetts. I'm happy to take questions. We'll do it in a scrum, but I appreciate everything that everyone had to say. You said what needed to be said. And I'm going to leave us in this hall reverberating with words of Dr. Gabeau and the message of Dr. Gabeau and what we need to do and what each and every one of us across this great state and country are entirely capable of doing. Terrible, terrible Supreme Court decision. But understand, that's undone the second I change the Trump administration. They can change that this afternoon. They can change that today. And the way that changes is by listening to and hearing from people from all walks of life, from all industries and sectors, from states all over this great country, about what's right, what America stands for, what we represent. The moment's now to act. Thank you.
Voilà, donc c'est le suffrage intérieur de la fonction et conférence pour la presse, l'autorité et dans Massachusetts travaille sous le statut de protection et temporaire de TPS et pour les Haïtiens. Donc, une décision sortie jeudi, côté de la Cour suprême lui-même, de décider que l'administration qui opère le TPS, donc pour tout Haïtien, et ça fait jeudi là, tout le gouvernement et Massachusetts doit quand même nous réunir de façon pour capable d'avancer en quelque sorte les dispositions de pays d'accord pour capable de quelques protections avec les Haïtiens qui ont retrouvé dans ce state. Maintenant, j'ai un peu dans notre pose de question. On va connaître l'efficacité et protection et on est capable de joindre puisque ce sont des décisions qui sont prises plus gros et tribunal on est capable de dire qu'il y a ici mais ceci étant dit il y a des dispositions pour annoncer pour protéger notre haïtien ça a été programmé.
Capable de dire ici dans Boston qui était réuni pour venir et malgré c'était une annonce et qui était faite à la dernière minute. Donc, pour là, et tout le monde a commencé à réunir et à reprendre les dispositions donc, pour nous capables entrer. Nous allons essayer, ouais, et si nous sommes capables de faire quelques interviews avec quelques monde qui sont concernés et pour nous poser quelques questions, par exemple, conseiller municipal ou dire Louis Jeune, et nous allons essayer, ouais, et si peut-être magistrat est capable de parler, si gagnent et l'autre et autorité qui eux même t'a voulu et dit quelques mots tout et avec nous pour bail peut-être c'est pas dit que j'ai pas le protéger haïtien parce que décision j'en nous connaît déjà li prend net mais et gagner toujours quelque chose qui est capable de faire. Ça nous noter c'est que ni gouverneur ni procureur général là il dit et jusqu'à présent décision l'arrêté en TPS l'arrêté a gagné effet et pour la simple bonne raison que la Kou Siprem pour et décision est beaucoup officielle. Donc ça c'est un bagage qui est important pour nous signaler. Donc sous top travail et ou gagner possibilité pour capable continuer travail toujours parce que décision n'est pas et c'est pas une décision qui est officielle. Donc il y a bien pour publier peut-être dans quelques semaines et quelques jours et non mois peut-être mais c'est beaucoup une décision et officielle liée. Donc l'important pour nous est signaler ça pour vous. Nous allons j'aime dire là nous allons regarder et si nous sommes capables de parler ensemble avec un monde qui est habitué et bataille. Donc pour la communauté haïtienne et pasteur Kiki nous est là donc il va parler et lui était dans le panel là donc des deux et gouverneur mais il pas fait et il va faire déclaration. Donc nous allons voir comment nous capables de faire. On t'y parler ensemble avec lui pour ajouter et quelques et dans ça qui était dit déjà.
This decision today my hope is for compassion to rule, for compassion to prevail. And that's not what we see taking place today. Compassion really from the Supreme Court justices did not prevail today. But it's a reality. Understand, we face the reality. Then exactly just to find strength. The only way we can definitely continue to stand and continue to be firm and continue to fight is to hold on to that supreme power who is God, who is our refuge in time of present help, as Psalm 46 said, in the time of help. And that's the strength that we have right now to continue fighting. So we know it's hard for people. It's very alarming for many of them. As you can understand, they only have a memo stating that they have a valid status until July 1st. Many of them already contacted me, okay, since yesterday, telling me what we're going to do because our employers already requested from us to bring an additional legal paper for us to continue working past July 1st. And now I was hoping to definitely follow to be good, to rule in our favor, and that's not what recently happened. So I'm not losing faith. I continue to rely on God, but at the same time continue to call them to remain hopeful and then to call on our elected officials. We have many of friends and neighbors and numbers to tell them to call, to reach out the elected officials. Now I know that the Department of Homeland Security can do something. They don't need the approval of the president. The secretary of the DHS can make a decision right now and protect those Haitians. It doesn't require Congress approval. It doesn't require president approval, but Secretary Mullen can definitely act compassionately. Can act compassionately to preserve those families who have no place to go in Haiti, and they have their children born here. Understand, more than 87,000 U.S. children born from the TPS recipients. You can't divorce 87,000 U.S. children at this time. So sending those people back home is sending them to their grave because they have no place for them to be able to go. Yes, emotionally drained, that's part of life. We are human beings, okay? Yeah, we are human beings. It's when something hit you, okay? So hard, so emotional. What I'm just thinking about the homeless, okay? The people who own homes, people who have children in colleges, and they are the ones who provide the tuition for their children. School, university is closed. They have to get ready for September and August for the children to go back to school. How are they going to maintain that? Angela, how you doing? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. No, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a family who called me and said, well, I have a mortgage. I already lost my job because he's a TPS holder and amounts to a commercial driver license. He works for MBTA. He cannot renew his commercial driver license. He lost his job. We are hoping that TPS can continue so that he could find other employment opportunities. Now he can't find that because he doesn't have a guarantee that TPS will continue. I'm thinking about the family, and that's why I'm emotionally being drained, and I got to sit down and cry out. That's what happened. Thank you so much.
Are you going to be out front?
I'll be up front. I'll be there.
Thank you so much, Ben.
Thank
Oh,
you.
yeah, please.
C'est ça. Et dis-nous, pour entrer dans le panel là, donc vous êtes toujours avec nous. Premièrement, qui vont prendre des décisions et Kou Siprem jeudi là, qui ça crée pour nous?
Alors, jeudi, c'est un jour qui est extrêmement triste. Nous n'avons pas un mot spécifique, ou un adjectif, un attribut quelconque que nous sommes capables de juger journée jeudi, matinée jeudi, une matinée qui est triste, une matinée qui est inquiétante, une matinée qui est alarmante et une matinée qui porte en pile pleurs, en pile crier, comme on est capable de ça, tout jeudi, c'est crier depuis le matin pour demander bon Dieu courage et force dans ces circonstances. Pendant qu'on a pensé avec des milliers de compatriotes qui n'ont pas gagné l'autre moyen, l'autre secours encore que TPS seulement qui ont gagné, et puis qui trouvaient dans une situation comme ça, qui a pensé après 1er juillet, comment on va faire pour payer mortgage, pour payer caillon, pour payer tuition pour petits qui vont au collège, comment qu'il a fait, son situation tout à fait difficile que liée. Nous allons espérer surtout que nous sommes capables de joindre une décision comme ça, mais nous faisons bon Dieu confiance. Nous avons mis un problème difficile. Bon Dieu toujours créer un moyen, quelle que soit la mer rouge qui est devant nous. Bon Dieu a un moyen pour capable de couper la mer à deux pour nous-mêmes, permettre que nous capables de passer à pied sec. C'est sur ça que nous comptons sur bon Dieu. Pendant ce temps, nous ne pas arrêter dans le silence, nous continuons à agir, nous continuons à connecter avec officiels nous élus nous et nous remercier le gouverneur Moraheli qui campait avec toute l'équipe, avocat général qui campait ensemble avec nous-mêmes et qui permettent que et l'autre philanthropie que nous qui campait là qui dit à mettre disponible une série de mesures en place de provisions pour accompagner les compatriotes qui a fait face, qui pourraient faire face à situation difficile. Mais cependant, nous connaissons que son jour de deuil que nous considérons pour nous-mêmes, un jour de deuil que nous considérons pour nous-mêmes, mais puisque nous croyons en bon Dieu, nous croyons bon Dieu a bas nos forces pour nous capables de camper, parce que le bail force, d'après Isaïe 41, fait nous connaître, avec ça qui est fatigué, et puis il a augmenté vigueur de ça qui tombe en défaillance.
Mais maintenant, Pasteur Kiki, ces dernières instances, la Kou Siprem, qui ça crée? Comment TPS est capable de protéger? Je connais plusieurs initiatives qui prend, mais dans le Congrès républicain, ça n'a pas trop espoir pour eux. Qui ça fait? Ça qu'a expliqué, ou même qui très versé dans le domaine ça, ou passé 40 ans donc on suivre ou peut que j'aime vivre situation ça déjà ça on qui gagne TPS jeudi là qui ça le espérer qu'on y encore.
Alors, il y a plusieurs démarches qui a faites continuelles auprès de secrétaire département Homeland Sécurité qui en mesure capable de prendre décision peut-être pour capable aider nous. Il y a une démarche qui a fait aussi auprès du Sénat américain pour permettre que capable passer le plus vite que possible et Bill ça que sénateur Marquis fait déposer pour demander une extension avec 3 ans encore de plus. Nous sommes sûrs et certains toute démarche ça qui a fait en mesure pour capable créer opportunité pour compatriotes qui gagnent un TPS. C'est ça que nous avons continué de travailler parce que nous ne pas prêter dans le silence, nous continuons à connecter avec toute instance qui est disponible, congrès et surtout avec département rôle de sécurité pour qu'à réviser surtout toutes normalement mesures que qu'on est en place que on prend pour capable protéger compatriotes nous connaît qui impacté surtout par décision la Cour suprême. Nous étions pour parler matin avec Lawyers for Civil Rights qui a gardé qui d'autres mesures légales qui capable d'entreprendre parce que il y a une clause qui fait qu'on est que pendant que procès légal continue dans le tribunal, administration a gagné opportunité pour capable terminer TPS. Alors nous avons gardé encore avec l'autre clause qui existait là-dedans, même si que nous tendez avec le gouverneur qui a parlé, avocat général qui a parlé, que il peut normalement recevoir toute dernière instruction que la Cour suprême vient bailler après décision qui prend.
Je veux dire là qui comportement au monde qui gagne TPS seulement t'as de gagner bon ici à la pasteur pour nous finir.
Alors, il est toujours nécessaire pour nous parler de attitude, de comportement, yon moun doit être exemplaire, ou doit pas laisser pour tomber dans une série de accrochages, pour capable mener tout, surtout dans le respect et espérer quelque chose de bon à priver dans le futur.
Merci un peu, pasteur. C'était un plaisir.
Merci.
Donc voilà, c'était avec nous et pasteur Kiki, donc pasteur Jeffrey Fleurissin, donc lui-même qui c'est yon advocate, donc c'est yon militant dans question et défendre droit et immigrants. Donc lui-même qui était là, c'était, j'aime dire nous, c'était en pile émotion. Donc dans le tribunal jeudi, en fait pas tribunal, excusez-moi, dans le bureau gouverneur et jeudi, donc tu as tout leader, tout gouvernement, donc ils ont même été réunis pour être capable de porter nous. Et cette conférence ça, c'était moi-même avec vous, Emmanuel Paul, et puis on a rencontré donc pour un autre événement si possible.